Hi, my name is Kurt from Codecrafters. This video is from my Roblox Masterclass course, which you can find more about in the description below. Okay, so in today's lesson, we are going to start looking at changing properties of parts. Okay, now this will be split into two lessons because there's quite a lot to talk about, and but you'll be lucky to hear that this lesson is a bit more easy than the second lesson. So can introduce you to this first, and the next lesson we can look at some of the more complex, not complex, but some of the more tricky ones to change. Okay, so to change a property, we already know how to tell the script what object we're wanting to change. Okay, now we need to tell it the property and what data or what to give the property, what to change the property to be. Okay, now it follows a general form. Okay, you first reference the object, which we already know how to do. Then we write a dot and say the property name. Okay, that's what comes next. You then make that equal to a data type, so a type of data. Okay, and I'm just going to note this by using two dashes, which notes that. So anything that's noted in your script won't be read by the script. It's just for you to read. Okay. So that's the general form for this. Okay, and we're going to have a look at the main thing to have a look at is the data types. And there's quite a few different types of data that you'll need to know how to use basically. So let's click on the part and let's have a look through its properties here. Okay, let's start off with transparency. Okay, that's quite an easy one to change using the script. Just it's just a number that it accepts. Okay, so firstly we need to reference the object, which is the part. So from last lesson, remember there's two ways to reference it. We're going to use the game.method method first. So there's going to be a lot of referencing today as well. So hopefully that will make you a bit more comfortable with that as well. But we will just be referencing probably every lesson in this scripting section as well. So you will catch on to it eventually. So we are going to say game.workspace. We're going from the work to the game, imaginary game to the workspace, then to the part. Okay, that's how you reference the object. Then we want to say the property name. So the property is treated as a child or treated as a member of the object. So we can just write dot and just write it as you would do for another object. Transparency. Okay, and we can see here, this bit's quite important. It says something here. It says number here. It will say different things depending on what property you're changing. And they're quite important, okay? So we've now referenced the object and said the property name that we're wanting to change. The only thing to do next then is to put in the data type, okay? Transparency just accepts a number from 0 to 1. So it's as simple as just writing in the number you want to change it to. So let's say 0.5, you'd write 0.5, and that's it. We've now changed it to 0.5. Obviously, it won't work until we run the game, which we can try out just in a minute. Now, you notice that I've written spaces before and after the equal sign. Okay. If I wrote it like this, it would still work completely fine. Okay. No issues with that either way. I just think it's much easier to read with those spaces in. Okay. This section of the course isn't just to teach you the basics, but also to teach you how to write code in a readable and efficient way. Okay, and little things like this, if you get in the habit of, will make reading the code for both you and other people much easier. Okay, so it's a good idea to put spaces in between there. Again, if you don't want to, it won't be wrong, but I would just highly recommend it. Okay, so let's run the game and see what happens when we change that property. We can see as soon as we run the game, as soon as everything loads fine, immediately it changes to transparency of 0.5 there. You can see we didn't change that, it did it itself. okay? Which is how scripting is so cool. So let's go back to the script. And this here, I'm going to write this in notes again, is a number data type. This is a type of data, okay? Very similar to integer, you might also see as well. The difference between numbers and integers is that numbers can contain decimal points, so they can be 0.5, 0.2. Integers have to be whole numbers, so 1, 5, 7, okay? Can't have any decimal points, can't have any dots in the number, okay? Let's have a look at the second data type we're going to have a look at today. Let's select the part, and let's look at anchored, okay? Anchored has a tick box, okay? So let's reference anchored. So let's say game.workspace.part.anchored. And we can see here, this is a Boolean data type, okay? Let's make it equal to, and let's talk about data type. So what Boolean means is it can either be one of two values. So our anchored property here can either have a tick or no tick, okay? Which basically means it's on or off, okay? Anchored is either on or anchored is either off. Another word of saying that is true and false, okay? A statement or something you say can either be true or false. It can't be either. It can only be correct or incorrect, true or false, okay? We use the terms true and false when we're writing for data types, okay? So if you want anchored to be on, we would say true. We would write the word true like that there. If you wanted it to be off, so not ticked, you would just write false like that there as well. So Booleans are when you write either true or false, okay? So this is a Boolean, like that there. Okay, cool. Let's drop a line. Let's have a look at another data type. Let's have a look at name. Name is just some text that you write in here, okay? Let's reference it the other way. Let's reference it from the script. I'm getting a bit bored of writing game.workspace. Let's say script. So I'm going to go from the script. Hasn't got any children, so we need to go to the workspace, which is its parent. So we'd say .parent. Now with the workspace, we can go back down again and go to the part. Okay, let's then reference the name property. And we can see name there is a string. We talked about strings a couple lessons ago. So strings, how you use strings is you just write the text normally, but you need to use speech marks before and after. The reason is because if you were to write a keyword in there, a word which is special to the script, something like print, if it sees a word, it thinks you're trying to use a function or something else. Okay. Using those speech marks means that no matter what you write in there, it will not think you're trying to use a function or something else. It knows it's just text and not treat it as anything else, basically. Okay. Whenever a property can take any value, so name, you can name it anything. Okay. That means it's a string. Okay. So let's just name it, I don't know, my first part, for example. Okay. Like that. I'm going to name it in camel case again because it's easier to use. Okay. So this here is a string, free text. Finally, let's have a look at the last data type we're going to have a look at today, which is we're going to look at the parent, what data type that is. So this is an object. This is a parent is assigned to another object. Okay. Oh, we need to undo that. Oh, sorry, I added a parting. I clicked off it, which basically meant it doesn't have a parent. I mean, it needs to have a parent, otherwise it can't exist. Okay. So let's reference the part again. So let's say script.parent. Just to make it more difficult, let's add a model into the game and put the part inside of a model. You would say script.parent.model.part. Okay, is equal to, and sorry, this is one of .part parent. Okay. Now, this one's not as easy because it tells you what the parent is, not what data type it accepts. Okay, because it is a property like anything else that you can change. Okay, parent is an instance, or otherwise called an object data type, and this is when the property accepts another object. So to give it that other object, we just need to reference it. So let's say we want to set the parent to be the workspace. We want it to go back to being parented to the workspace. All we need to do is just reference the workspace, which we already know how to do. It's just game.workspace. That's simple. You just reference the object that it should be equal to. And that there is your object, or it's also called your instance, data type as well. Okay. Some of these terms you will hear a lot later on as well, but some of them mean very similar things as well. Okay. So they're just some examples. On the first four, there's first four data types that you could use. Okay, so just to recap, you use a number or an integer whenever it's a number. Okay, booleans you use when something can either be one of two values. You use strings when it can have any value, so free text, and then you use objects or instances when it's another object. Okay, so these are four. Now, even though we only touched on four properties today, this allows you to change lots of other properties as well. You can now change anything that has a number, so like reflectance, not the ones with three numbers, we'll look at those next lesson, root priority, we haven't looked at that one, but you can change it, and other stuff. Okay, so with scripting, it's very important that you apply what you know. Okay, I can't teach you every single possibility because the course would be infinite amount of hours long. Okay, scripting is about what you know and applying it to unfamiliar cases. Okay, so I teach you what you need to know. Then when you're actually coding, you need to remember that and figure out how you can use what you already know in your case when you need it. Okay, so it's all about applying what you know. Okay, so have a try out at changing those properties. Okay, one more thing I should probably just touch on. This might throw an error. Yes, so because we changed the name of this to be my first part, and we called it part earlier on, we changed the name. It doesn't like that. Okay. And we also changed we put it into a model where here we referenced it as game.workspace.part. Okay, so when you are doing this, it's a good idea to keep the name and the parent the same. Okay, a bit boring, I know, but we will have a look later on in the course how to deal with that. But for now, it's just a funny area that you need to be aware of. Okay, just wanted to drop that off before we finished. So have a try out of those, and next lesson we're going to have a look at 4 extra data types. A little bit more tricky, but if you know these ones, I'm sure you'll be comfortable with the other 4 as well.